Have you ever wondered what retirement will really feel like? Not the financial side, that's another video. Not the planning, but the living of it every single day. Because I'll be honest with you, I can't give you 5 or 10 reasons why retirement is wonderful for me. And do you know why? Because almost every day I seem to find a new one. If you're new here, hi, my name is Rose. Welcome to my channel. This video is not meant to make those who are feeling lonely or battling financially even worse by me feeling happy. I know that other side of retirement exists, and we will certainly talk about it in another video. Getting back to my retirement. I retired at 65 from the Department of Education. Now, I could have carried on working beyond 65 because I wasn't employed by the state as such. I was privately employed by the school. So that meant that I could have stayed on longer. But something inside me just said, you know what, you're ready. You're ready for retirement. Did I miss anything about working? Yes, of course I did. My salary. Retirement involves sacrifices that I knew there would be, as well as all the good stuff that comes with it. I found a cheaper salon to have my hair done at. I've discovered that I've got enough clothing in my cupboard to last me for another 2 lifetimes. And yes, I do look for bargains. But every part of it is absolutely worth it. I wouldn't trade any of that for not having to go to work again. For not having to clock in every day at a certain time. My husband Peter was already working from home at that stage on a part-time basis. He trades on the stock exchange. I found myself wanting some very simple things in my life. My number one desire being time. Time to be at home. Time to be together. Time to spend with Peter. Time to just live differently. So I took the step. I retired at 65. And I've never regretted it for a moment. And what was the very first thing we did after I retired? We went on a cruise. Okay. Bit impulsive maybe. Maybe not the most financially responsible thing to do, but you know what? I'd saved a little bit of money and I just felt like kicking off our retirement with a cruise. So we went to the Norwegian fjords. It was absolutely beautiful. It was worth every cent. We made incredible memories together that will outweigh anything we could have bought for that money. It was just breathtaking. But the time together was so good. It was such a good way of starting this new stage in our lives. And then of course we stretched it out. It was a 10-day cruise and we turned it into a 3-week holiday by visiting friends and family in England, and that was lovely too. Then after being at home for a while, we did something completely unexpected. We went to work abroad as domestic workers for 3 years. Now, as 2 retired accountants, this was a bit of a shock to the system. You can imagine, I'm sure. But you know what? There were tough times while we were there and while we were doing it. But those kindly fade. There were so many laughs. We created so many memories. And another thing is that it was an experience that we'll never forget. And we could never have had if I'd been working 9 to 5. And on top of that, of course, we earned in another currency. So it did help us to get another little nest egg to put behind us. That's the thing about retirement. It opened doors for you that you didn't even know were there. But I do want to add this before you get the wrong impression of our retirement. Our retirement has not just been about travel. We're not in a financial position to travel all the time. And honestly, that's really not what makes retirement special. It's something much simpler than that. It's waking up in the morning and knowing no one's waiting for you. There's nowhere that you have to be. You know, some days when I wake up, I don't immediately get up and get in the shower and get dressed. Some days I just feel like being a bit lazy. Call it that if you like. Lazy is not a bad word. I sit outside on my patio in my pajamas, enjoying my coffee, just looking at my garden, listening to the quiet, and hopefully a couple of birds coming in and landing on my bird bath, and just thinking, what would I like to do today? Not what I have to do, it's what I choose to do. And interestingly enough, my days are still quite full. I love gardening. I'm a beginner at gardening, and every time somebody gives me a little clipping or I buy a new plant, I try to remember how not to kill that plant. So we're still in the experimental stage, but I am enjoying the gardening. I find putting my hands in the soil quite therapeutic. Then I spend a couple of hours a day on my YouTube channel. I also do some mental health work within my community, which I find extremely fulfilling. But while we're talking about YouTube, I'd love you to subscribe to my channel. It's free, and if you tap the little bell, every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified of it. And of course, if you give me a like, it tells YouTube that you're enjoying watching my video, and it can perhaps push me up the ladder a little bit. Anyway, so retirement for me hasn't meant stopping. It's meant choosing what I do. Peter and I spend a lot of time together. We always have, actually. And of course, our 3-year stint, we worked together as a couple in homes, so we spent all that time together. And I hear it so often, women saying, oh my goodness, what am I going to do when I retire? I cannot spend the whole day with my husband, asking me what I'm doing, interfering in everything I'm doing. It doesn't have to be that way. If it starts off that way, well then, it's up to you to talk to him about it and say, this is not making me happy. We need to set a few ground rules. But somehow Peter and I have made it work. And I think the secret perhaps is we're not joined at the hip. He works most mornings for most of the morning on his trading. In the afternoons, he sometimes watches some sport on TV. I do my own thing in the morning, as I've already told you what I busy myself with. Sometimes I'll go out and have a coffee or lunch with a friend, and I don't expect him to come everywhere with me. I don't expect him to ask me exactly what time I'll be home. So we've got an agreement about certain things. Peter plays golf now and again, and when he goes with his friends for a beer afterwards, I don't watch my watch. So we have managed to give each other that space, and I think that might be at the heart of it all. But we genuinely do like being together. And that is a gift for which I am constantly grateful. I love hearing him. I hear his voice calling coffee, and I know that means he's made us each a cup of coffee, and he's already out on the patio waiting for me. And we'll, no matter what we're doing, you know what? We're retired. I'm never so busy with anything that I can't take a break to have coffee with him. Sometimes we sit there just for the length of our coffee. Other times, an hour later, we find ourselves in the midst of some really interesting conversation. And another beautiful thing about retirement is the freedom from pressure. That constant underlying feeling of, should I be doing something? In the beginning, you might feel a bit of guilt about doing nothing. I suppose maybe that's natural for some. But that soon passes. After all, most of us have worked our whole lives. And this is our time. And if it's spent doing nothing, reading a book, watching TV, whatever you choose, it's your choice. You start living at a different pace. A pace that is kinder to you. Even though you've stopped actively working, retirement definitely isn't the end of something. It's just the beginning of a new way of living. Some days a quieter one, every day a freer one, and mostly a more intentional one. And no, it's not perfect every day. Of course it isn't. Nothing's perfect. But it's real. And for me, it's been better than I could have ever imagined. We are considering moving out of our townhouse into a retirement village. Even though our townhouse is not huge, it requires a lot of maintenance. And Peter's 80, I'm 72. It's things that we can't do ourselves, and it also costs a lot of money to get people in to do these jobs. So we're thinking about it, but that let's save for another video, because that's going to be quite an interesting talk and a big decision for us. If you are already retired, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. What are the things that bring you the greatest joy? Or what are the things that you find yourself battling with? And if you're not there yet, if you're still waiting for retirement, what do you think your retirement's going to look like? What do you think your days will consist of? Let's share our journeys together. And until next time, as always, bye for now.